The Veeam Agent for Linux is a tool that we can install on a server or a workstation locally to allow us to manage the backup and restore of those physical servers. Also, too, we can do backup anywhere, flexible recovery, and it integrates within the Veeam Backup and Replication server, so we can manage it remotely or even manage it locally where the agent is installed. One other great feature is we can perform a manual active full backup via CLI, which is critical for a Linux administrator. We also support active full backups and source-side encryption. Let's take a look at the demo. In this demonstration of the Veeam Agent for Linux, we're going to first start by going to the left menu and selecting Inventory. Once selected, we see the menu above change. We can now select the Physical and Cloud Infrastructure menu, and to the right we see where we can create a protection group. This is what we use to manage and deploy our agents. Over to the left we can also select Add Group to create a protection group. We're going to use a pre-existing protection group that was created for a Linux server. If we right-click, we can see the option to rescan. Rescanning will show us any changes that have happened in this protection group depending on how it was configured. We also see below Disable. And then below that, we see Statistics. When we click Statistics, we will see a breakout menu that will show us information about the last run rescan, including its success status, the time it was started, the end time, and we can even see who initiated this backup. Let's go ahead and close this window and right-click again. Another option would be Report. When we select Report, it will open a separate window, which is a browser, and give us great information that we could both use or even send to somebody or archive for future use. Let's go ahead and close this menu as well. Right-click again. Now we'll look at the Add to Backup job option. When we select Windows, there won't be anything in the flyout menu because this is not a Windows backup job. When we select Linux, you will see New Job or Add to an Existing Job. Now, if we go back over to the menu, we see the option for Location. This can be used to bind a policy to a tag to prevent somebody from restoring information in an area that it should not be restored to. You'll see a pop-up window later that will address this. Additionally, we have Remove and Properties. Let's go ahead and select Properties. Remember, we are editing a pre-existing backup job. So in this example, we could change the name. We could also change the description if needed. Let's take a look at Type. Now in Type, you'll note that this is all grayed out. If you wanted to change the type of backup from individual to, say, CSV, you would have to create a new backup job. Now let's take a look at Computers. This is where we would add the computer and the account in which we would deploy and manage the agent to this machine. It is always best practice to ensure that this account will do the job that we need it to, so if we go down to the bottom right, we can select the Test Now button to ensure that everything is working properly before continuing. Let's select Options. Under Discovery, we see that we can rescan the protection groups and we can choose daily or even periodically. Below that, we see the option for Deployment. This is the server that we will choose to deploy these agents, as you can see from the description below in this menu. Now, we can also install the backup agent automatically, which is recommended. You can auto-update the backup agent, and, of course, this is not going to matter because that's Windows. So, let's go ahead and move forward and select Review. We are now gathering information from the server that we want to deploy to. In a moment, you'll see a menu that will show us whether these objects have been deployed. Because this is a pre-existing job, we can see that it's already been deployed, as it says already exists in these menus. Let's cancel out as we do not want to apply anything to this pre-existing job. The next step to show how this would be deployed or how we would create a backup job would be go to the left side of the menu, as we already have the protection group created, and select Home. From Home, we'll see Jobs listed, and over to the right, you'll note that we have the Linux backup job already configured. Now, before we get into reviewing a pre-existing job, I'd like to create a new backup job to show you the differences that you might see. So in this example, we're going to select Linux Computer as a backup job. In the Job Mode menu, you'll see the option for the type, either workstation or server, And then below that, you'll see the mode, which is managed by the backup server or the agent. The next menu would be name. And here's where we can give this a unique name. In this example, we're just going to select demo so we can easily find this if we need to delete it later. And then we select next. Under computers, we select add. And in this example, I'm going to use an individual computer name. And this is the name of the Linux server that I know is in the demo environment. After I put in the name, I go down to credentials and I'm going to select a pre-configured root credential just for this example. Select OK, and now we select Next. In the Backup Mode menu, you'll see the option to be able to select all three options, which is Entire Computer, Volume Level Backup, and File Level Backup. This option is where we'll see the difference in a pre-configured backup job. Let's cancel out of this and take a look at a pre-configured backup job for Linux. So here we see the Linux backup job. We right-click, and from here we can see the option to start this job. We also have the option to do an active full backup. And like we saw earlier, the ability to show statistics or a report. As we move further down, we see disable, clone, delete, and edit. Let's go ahead and select edit. As we can see here in job mode, the options are grayed out. That's because if it's a pre-existing job, we can't change the option for workstation or server or how it's managed. When we select next, we can change the name or the description. Next, we see that it's configured as a computer account, just like we did earlier. That was configured in the same way. We select next and move to backup mode. You'll notice in backup mode, we selected entire computer, but now file level backup is grayed out. When you have a pre-configured job, it has to be one or the other. And if it's pre-configured, you can't change it during the edit process. If you wanted to change this from entire computer to file backup, you would have to create a new backup job. We select next and move on to the storage menu. Here you'll see the backup repository in which we selected to store this backup job. Now we can select different backup repositories if we choose by clicking on the menu. The repository selected for this backup job was Exagrid, which is a deduplication appliance. We'll touch on that later. We can also configure how many restore points we'd like to keep on this disk as well. At the bottom we see the advanced options, which can include backup mode, compression, and even deduplication settings. Let's select this button. In the Advanced Settings menu under the Backup tab, you can see the option to select a synthetic full backup or an active full backup. Under the Maintenance tab, we have the option for Storage Level Corruption Guard. This performs backup file health checks. Now we can do this monthly or weekly on selected days as we choose. We also have Full Backup File Maintenance. This allows us to defragment and even compact full backup files periodically when the job schedule does not include a periodic full. We can also remove deleted item data as well as defragment and compact a full backup file. On the Storage tab under Data Reduction, we have compression level options. If we select the drop-down, you'll see the different types of compression we can choose from. Below that, we have Storage Optimization, which can allow us to optimize based on the location of the storage that we're using. And the last option under Storage is the ability to be able to encrypt our backup files. Let's move on to Notifications. Here we can select to send SNMP notifications or email notifications to specific recipients. We can also do this using a global notification setting, or we can use custom settings, including the ability to just send success, warning, error, or a combination of these in an email. The Scripts tab allows us to select or browse scripts that we can run before or after a job if we need. We also have the option down below to run scripts every so many backup sessions, or we can select certain days to run these scripts. Let's cancel out and move on to the next menu. Now we'll see the first of two pop-up windows that we discussed earlier. The first is for data sovereignty violation, and as you can see, this is based on the outside SE East tag. This was set up with some type of policy saying that the Linux agent is not in the same region as the backup repository. We're going to select yes because we just want to proceed with our demo. So we select yes and we get the second pop-up window. This pop-up window shows us we're storing our information on a deduplication storage appliance, and there's a possibility that this could impact our performance depending on how it's configured. There is an article listed right here in the pop-up window that you could read, and it would give you more information on this subject. Let's just select OK. In the guest processing menu, we have the options to enable application-aware processing and enable guest file system indexing. If we go back to the first, enable application-aware processing, we can check the box and click the application button for more options. In this menu, there's already an object that's been configured. So if we highlight it and we select Edit, we'll see that there are more options. In these options, you'll see General, Oracle, and Scripts. If this was the Windows agent, there would actually be additional options, including SQL, as tabs. The Oracle tab will have additional options, including the Oracle account that we'll use to access the sysdba privileges. The Scripts tab will allow us to enable script execution if we need it for pre-freeze or post-thaw scripts. Let's cancel out of these two menus and then select Next so we can see scheduling. So down at the bottom, we select Next, and now we have the scheduling. Here we can select Run the Job Automatically, and the options are Daily, Monthly, Periodically, or even After this job, which means run this job once this job completes successfully. So let's cancel out of this because we don't want to affect a job that's already been pre-created. And that will conclude the demonstration on the Veeam Agent for Linux. Thank you for your time.